Welcome along to Cadwell Park for the first track day of the year for me and for Adam, who's currently holding the camera. It's fair to say it's a little bit fresh this morning, and by fresh I mean actually real freezing. According to my weather app it is -1, but feels like -7, and I think it's being optimistic. So the sunglasses are merely for show because I like to look cool. The hat is because my head's cold. I suppose we really ought to go and get some motorbikes out of the van. Just to confirm, when I say freezing I do mean it. Turn the BMW on, and if the camera actually wants to focus it, in there it says 0, incoming air as in the airbox is 1 degree, oh no, 0, yep, so it's officially really, 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 really cold. And annoyingly, I no longer have my heated grips connected. That's a bit of an oversight, isn't it? While I'm waiting for the first session, I've been to noise test and passed that with no problems because I've got a reasonably big Arrow silencer. I've also signed on, I've got my funky red sticker for the fast group, and we're sort of ready to go. I've just got to give the tyres a few minutes in the tyre warmers, but I thought we'll have a bit of a look around the bike. So the first thing you'll notice is big stickers on the front of the fairing, because these are some of my sponsors and they're all wonderful people. Rapid are a road training company and I'm actually one of their coaches. They're also one of my sponsors. They're a brilliant company, and it's not like IAM where you ride around in your Sam Brown belt at 56 mile an hour and, you know, try not to hit a lorry. They'll actually teach you how to be more confident, more competent, and basically a better, more confident rider. So they're a brilliant company. I'm really, really pleased to be involved with them, and I'm also really, really pleased that they're now a sponsor. Lynx Road and Race are a breakers in Lincoln, and they do road and race bits. Motul have been supplying me fluids and oils and stuff for years. B&C do a wondrous selection of chains, sprockets, exhaust pipes, brake pads, fluids, this, that, the other, you name it, they pretty much sell it. So they're all excellent. That's the call for the blue group to the assembly area, and luckily that's not me. So on the side of the bike is Obsession Engineering, who obviously are an excellent motorcycle engineering company. Right, looking a bit further down the bike, we've got some Carrot Cycle stickers and some Bitubo and bits, and Dunlops because I normally run Dunlops. We'll start at the front of the bike. This is actually one of my Superbike front wheels because the original HP forged BMW wheels are offensively expensive. So I managed to buy a couple of sets of Marchesini Superbike wheels for less money than you'd pay for BMW Superstock wheels. Then the slight problem was the standard BMW calipers catch the bobbins on the discs. So I've now changed to the M4 caliper. There isn't really any more braking performance, they just fit with the wheels, and the plus side is the pads are cheaper. So they are Marchesini forged aluminium rims. I do have some HP BMW rims for Superstock duties. So to go with it, I've got an RCS master cylinder and a TGP like billet quicker action throttle. To go with the throttles, you have to have the switch gear. It looks a little bit nicer and it's, you know, well, it's a little bit sturdy if you crash it. My favourite thing, really, I suppose, is this Bitubo suspension. The blue group still need to go to the assembly area. When I bought my first BMW, it had Bitubo suspension in it. I'd ridden on K-Tech and Ohlins quite a lot in the past, and this was my first experience with Bitubo, and I love it. You get loads and loads of feel on the brakes, especially when you're sort of braking really deep into corners. The shock works really well. I've never ever found fault with it, and I like it that much I'm now actually at Bitubo service centre. So, Bitubo stuff, excellent. Right, electronics wise, BMW dashboards can tell you almost everything. You know, they tell me what time my dinner's ready and all sorts. But I turn a lot of the stuff off that you don't need in the middle. I have it set up so I've got gear, traction level, ambient air pressure, incoming inlet air pressure, engine, yeah, water temperature, inlet air temperature. I do know what I'm talking about. And then I've got a lap timer that's telling me my last lap and my best lap. And the nice thing is with these, if you press the bottom button here, it does your lap timing, and then if you're on a personal best it puts a little green light on, which is kind of funky. The only slight issue is the lap button is right next to the lowering the traction control button, so sometimes I finish a race with less traction than I started it. Not the end of the world. Right, the engine is standard, refreshed at 3,500 mile service intervals by Obsession Engineering. Down the back we've got a full Arrow competition system. With this system on it, a standard engine, it's got the BMW HP unlock and the RC K3 calibration kit on it and makes just over 200 horsepower at the wheel. There is a Bitubo shock in there, a funky little sort of reservoir replacement, Promat rear sets. I have to pay proper money for them, but they are excellent. They're not the cheapest thing, but they are sturdy. As you go through the bottom of Bray Hill, they are not going to bend like some cheap Chinese thing. So they're all excellent. Right, we also have here a data logger. Now on a BMW, a 2D data logger plugs in where the alarm plugs in on the road bike and is pretty brilliant because it gives you all the parameters off the bike and GPS. So that's a really useful tool. And today I will be playing around and looking at a load of the data off that. Partly because we go back round the front, round the other side. It's the first time... Come on, Blue Group, go to your session. Right, this is the first time I've run a front suspension potentiometer, which will tell me how far my front suspension is travelling during the lap, and should be really, really interesting for, you know, knowing what suspension's doing. So that's a cool tool, and hopefully I'll actually understand what it's telling me in the data. That, interestingly, plugs into the loom on the road bike, and apparently if you plug that in on the road bike, it makes the electronic suspension fully active, which is kind of funky. Other thing you'll see down there is some Evotech radiator guards, especially when you go road racing. There's a lot of stones and stuff, so radiator guards will save you a load of hassle. That's nearly all the details on the bike. Just down here, the standard shifter and blipper I never really had a problem with, but the HM ones, because they're solid state, they don't move, it gives you a little bit more positive gear change, and you can adjust the sensitivity, not that I've ever bothered. Then we've got a Zubaki chain on rental sprockets, all from BNC Express. But that's about it, really. Oh yeah, and today we've got some slightly rubbish Pirellis in. That won't be rubbish today because it's cold. Right, must be about time to turn the tyre warmers on and give them a few minutes before the first session. Normally, I race on Dunlops because I actually think they're the best tyre. Awesome grip levels. They're actually quite a stable tyre nowadays. They didn't necessarily used to be. And you get loads of life out of them. The longevity is really good. They don't heat cycle too badly. But they like it to be quite warm. And today is anything but warm. So I'm actually trying a Pirelli Intermediate. It may look like a dry tyre, but the construction of the compound is very, very similar to a wet. So it'll deal with the low temperatures really, really well. There is also another side to this. The first couple of meetings I'm doing this year are no limits endurance meetings where we have to run Pirellis, which is a bit of a shame because all the setup work I've done is on Dunlops. But at least this way I'll get a little bit of track time on some Pirellis and see if there's any major feel difference. We meet all sorts of reprobates in Cadwell Park. This is Joey Thompson, who is Northwest 200 podium man, top 5 at TT, and general like professional Yorkshireman.
I wouldn't go as far as professional, but yeah, no, it's cold. -2 degrees at Cadwell Park. I think I'd rather be in bed, but hey, we're here.
Yeah, what you riding today?
I'm just riding my own Superstock Suzuki, just trying to get a bit of timing on 1,000. So I've just signed to race in Superbike this year in BSB. So doing a full season in Superbike, and we'll see how that goes. Big leap for me, but we'll give it a good go.
Yeah, well, hopefully come June at the first round, the weather will have improved a bit.
Yeah, hopefully it picked up a bit, but at least we're getting used to some British riding here anyway.
Yeah, that's it.
Cold all the time, but might have to put my wets on even though it's bone dry.
Yeah, I've actually put a set of intermediates in today.
Just definitely the best thing. Definitely
I think they're the future.
Yeah. So, see you later, YouTube.
Cheers, Joey.
That's cool.
I'm using the mic because there's a lot of background noise, so hopefully you can hear me a little bit better. It's first call for the first session. I'm wearing my scruffy leathers because it's only testing, and it's blooming cold. Adam's just come in after half his session, he can't feel his fingers. So it's not going to be the best session. I've got a scrubber set of tyres in, even though they're race tyres and they should scrub in quite easy, but it is going to be steady with a capital slow. Yeah, I've had my gloves wedged in my tyre warmers, so hopefully they won't be too bad, and I'm wearing a little pair of latex gloves as like an inner layer. And I quite like the feel. Right, first session done, and until about the last sort of lap or two, I could actually still feel my fingers, which was actually pretty good going. But I was utterly paranoid about the cold. So the left-hand side of the tyre, I've not used it at all. It's like I've been riding to the shops. the right-hand side of the tyre, if I get out the sunshine, yeah, what I might find is that tyre might be too soft for the rest of the day, but I don't really have an option to change it, because if I put my Dunlops back in, they won't like the cold at all. So I think I might just be a case of go out and ride that one until it dies, which I'm going to have to turn the traction control down, because at the moment it's actually holding it back already. So, yeah, definitely not the fastest session I've ever done, but, you know, it's in one piece, and we're just getting there little bit by little bit. You can tell a few of the lads have been out a bit, maybe other testing, maybe they've, you know, had a business trip abroad or something, because there's a few lads who are on it. I'm not. But more importantly, I'm not off it, so that'll do for starters. Adam is excited to be here, honest, aren't you, Adam?
Very excited.
Are you also very excited that I keep shoving my muff in your mouth?
Yes, but I like it.
That's my call to go to the assembly area. I can actually see the holding area from here, so I'm not in a rush to go out. I can wait until the first bikes start leaving the holding area, and then I'll go down. If I miss half a lap, it's not a great problem today. And I'm wearing rubber gloves underneath my other gloves, and it did seem to help, because Adam's doing 3 or 4 laps and coming in because he can't feel his fingers at all. I lasted almost that whole first session before I was just beginning to get a little bit of numbness in my fingers. So I think rubber gloves are the future. I've been wearing them over winter while I've been cycling, and it seems to help quite a lot. So hopefully this is the future. Right, it's lunchtime now. We've had a decent morning, really, considering how cold it is. Adam actually did a full session on the last session because I lent him a set of my special gloves, and his fingers kept a little bit warmer. So that's a bonus. I just sort of rode around a couple of sessions. It's just getting used to being back on a bike and getting used to the speed again. My shoulders are just beginning to feel it a little bit because, well, we can't go to the gym. So I haven't been doing any sort of gym training. And it's, as much as you can ride a road bike, you aren't putting a load through your body like you are on a race bike. So I can just beginning to feel a little bit in the muscles, which is good because it means I'm working. The lap times look like I'm not working, but we're not doing lap times, of course, because it's a track day. So, so far, actually happy away, really. the intermediates are a bit odd because, especially on the brakes, they sort of move around quite a bit, a little bit like a wet does. And the back sort of just feels like it's trying to sort of rotate a little bit, even in a straight line on the brakes, which isn't terribly confidence-inspiring to bury the bike in the corner. So entries are a little bit steady, but we'll keep working away. The big thing is, we're not in the floor. Whereas if I was on, you know, a proper set of slicks, we might be in the floor, and then the lap times would be really, really slow. So far, it's going all right. During the lunchtime, if I get a little bit of time between sessions, I like to have a little bit of a walk around the paddock and just have a bit of a look at the bikes and bits. Now this one, I think it's John Dieterman, I think it is, and he races it at Scarborough, and it's quite a cool thing, really. A bit odd looking, but it's in a big old air-cooled Ducati engine, but it's blooming quick. He was chasing me around earlier, and on the way into corners, all you can hear is this big sort of rah noise on the way into stuff, which is pretty cool, really. So it goes really, really fast on that thing, even though it looks like it shouldn't. And that's it, another BMW. Nice paintwork. See, people wave, people are happy that they're on a track day, isn't it nice? The CB500 boys are always here. There's always some CB500s, and they're always flat out and look like they're having the best fun ever. Part of me's slightly jealous, but it's got Honda badge on it, so I don't want it. Yeah, it's just generally a nice, happy place to be. I mean, it's even happier when the sun's out and it's warm. Today's not the best day. But still a decent place to be. Some people turn up with like the big motorhomes and stuff. I turn up with a slightly rusty van. Still enjoy myself. That's what it's all about, really, isn't it? Getting out and about in the fresh air, having a bit of fun. I think it's probably better than going to the pub. Okay, there might be the odd broken collarbone now and again, but your liver's probably going to stay in decent shape. Oh, we're beginning to near the end of lunch break. I've just plugged my tyre warmers back in. Normally, I'd leave a pair of tyre warmers running all day, because it stops the tyres heat cycling, keeps them a bit more consistent. But these intermediates, they don't really want to be overly hot, so I've actually let them cool nice and gently over lunch. I just chuck them on a few minutes before the session. They only really want to be on, well, normally about 10 minutes, but because it's especially cold today, I'm giving them a little bit longer. Adam's not really looking any warmer yet. He's feeling the cold, because there's more of him to feel the cold. And what he said there was he really, really enjoys looking at men in leather. So yeah, he's happy, he's happy. Yeah, you've got to also remember on your track day, remember to eat. Because you've got to put fuel in the bike, and it's sort of generally quite a good idea to put fuel in the rider as well, because otherwise the rider just stops instead. And I think my generator's trying to stop because, I don't know why. I think the fuel might have been turned off. Right, so the next thing is I'll go and make sure the fuel's turned on. He hasn't realised that I'm talking to a microphone and we probably can't hear him. I think he just said he was going for a poo after we've restarted the generator. Oh, he's only going for a number one, not a number two. Okay, good, good, good. I'm pleased we've cleared that up. Weirdo. So I've just done the first session after lunch, and it's a little bit annoying that since the second session I've not really gone any faster. And I think the problem really is that these tyres maybe actually are a bit too soft for today because it's actually bone dry. I mean, the nice thing is they are heating up, and so I'm not getting a problem with the tyre feeling cold on entries and stuff, and it comes up to temperature really quick. But it is wearing out quite a lot, because if we look in the middle there, that's nearly on its wear markers, whereas at the sides we're a bit off it. And I think what's happening is, especially because obviously it's a big fast bike, down the straights it's just absolutely pulling the bottom out of the tyre. And then the weirdest thing is, down the straights it doesn't actually feel too bad, but when you brake it feels like the back end's like locking up and beginning to slide into the corner, which is a bit disconcerting, and it sort of makes me not really want to push any harder, because the last thing I want to do is on a corner entry is have the rear coming round and you've not got a vast amount of control of it. So yeah, I think I might do one more session, because you know it's still good fun riding around a motorbike, just the tyre's not really very happy. Possibly something halfway between an intermediate and a slick would be good. You know, like a intermediate, maybe. Or just put a road tyre in it. Road tyre would probably be bob on today. Adam, are you looking forward to your next session?
Oh yeah,
Okay, are you going to go whizzy fast?
always.
That'll be a no. Right, I suppose we could even maybe go and watch, because I've not really watched him riding around yet. One of the things I really like about Cadwell Park is you can still get quite close to the circuit. I mean, it's not Scarborough close, it's not road racing close, but for a normal road track, it's pretty good. And it's just really nice to see some motorbikes flailing around. It's cool, isn't it? People out there having fun. Yeah, I really like riding motorbikes and just, you know, hanging around motorbikey people and doing motorbikey things. Here comes Adam. Meow. He's not setting the world on fire, but he's enjoying himself, I'm sure. Here comes Adam again. Meow. Looks alright through there. Just done the second session of the afternoon, and to be fair, normally I'd always stick around and do the last session because it tends to be the best session of the day because everybody's gone home. But not today, because the front tyre, you know, I've got a little bit of spare. I've not been pushing the front particularly hard. I've definitely got some spare on the left-hand side. You know, it's first day of the year and it's cold. There is no prizes today. But the back tyre is not in the best of shapes. We're sort of on the wear markers here, and it's... I mean, I've seen worse things, but it's definitely past its best, and I think trying to pull another session out of it could be one too many. Weirdly, it actually doesn't feel too bad on corner exit down the straight. It's actually when you brake, you can feel it sort of struggling to like pull the bike in to corners. So it's actually corner entry where it's more of a problem. If I was going to use these tyres a lot, I'd probably take some rear ride height out of the bike to get a bit more load on it when you're braking, but it is only a track day and I actually only have one set of these and they're now spent. So we're not going to worry about it. I think that'll do for the day. Adam's bike's there. The big thing today is, with it being freezing cold, it'll be really easy to do something silly and fall off. But we have two complete motorbikes. We have an Adam who seems happy.
Yes.
Even if he is doing his Michael Jackson impression there. Luckily I haven't focused on his... And moving on. So yeah, decent first little track day. I think I'm actually back in a couple of days with another mate. But for now, that'll do. So after a fun day out at Cadwell Park, what most people would do is sit at home with a takeaway curry and a beer and, you know, relax and embrace the day. Well, I've had the curry, I haven't had the beer, but I'm looking at some data, because all of this stuff I actually find surprisingly interesting. Yes, I will admit I need to get out more. So this is one of my faster laps from the sort of tail end of the afternoon, and I can go into here and it will tell me some quite interesting stuff. For example, I know I've not been going very fast down the left because I know the left-hand side of the tyre struggles with temperature on a cold day. So I can see down here, down this line here, that the most lean angle I've had on the left is 55 degrees, whereas on the right I'm at 60 degrees. So what I need to do is go faster through the left-handers. That's fairly obvious. The other thing as well is, every lap I hit 100% throttle. That's fairly obvious. The average, though, is quite interesting. On the steady laps at the start of the session, for example, the out lap, 14% throttle. Earlier in the day, I know I was hitting 23%. My quicker laps, I'm 29% throttle. So, it's fairly obvious, if you want to go faster, open the throttle more. So, that bit's fairly simple. When you get into this actual graph of stuff, it gets a little bit more complicated. So what I've got here is the grey line at the top. This is the bank angle, either side of this little dotted line. So you can see through here, it's quite wiggly. If I go down to where the chicane is somewhere there-ish, that'll be the chicane there. So we go completely from one side to the other side quite quickly. So that's quite interesting. The sort of turquoise line is front suspension travel. So that's all kind of spiky and fun. Interestingly, this dark blue line at the bottom is throttle percentage. Look how much time I'm off the throttle. And especially being this is like just over 50% at this peak here. Because down here, we're only just at 100% a few times, even down the straights. So obviously, when the weather's better and I'm going faster, this will pretty much be solid at 100% near enough all the way along. These little spikes here are actually the auto blipper blipping down changes for park corner. So I find all this quite interesting. The speed here is reasonably brisk. We've got a bit of gear position stuff, and the green line is engine revs. So obviously down Park Straight we have a peak there, change gear, have another peak there, go quite fast, we can see from the red line, and then we brake, and we get little spikes that go with the little throttle blips down here. So there we go for that bit. But then if I want to say have a look at the end of Park Corner into Park, we can go into that, zoom by markers, and now I can see this is my peak speed at the end of Park Straight, sort of over this end. This is as fast as I go. Interestingly, because Park Straight isn't flat, there's a little sort of peak here and the speed stays the same even when I've closed the throttle, and that's because you actually crest the hill, and so the sort of uprise of the hill isn't there anymore and you actually maintain speed quite well. But then you can see the engine RPM obviously dropping off with the speed. These are the three little blips I talked about earlier as I gear change down into Park Corner. And then as we follow the graph along, we go all the way to maximum lean angle, which is somewhere down here. Yeah, at this point, just behind the plot here, so 53 degrees. But by the time I hit the apex at 53 degrees, I've actually started opening the throttle already, which that tells me I've probably got in too slowly, because I've spent a long time here on no throttle, but not decelerating particularly quickly. And I also note that I can see here that the most amount of front suspension travel I have is just here, but it's miles until we actually get into the corner, so I'm pretty much upright here, and that's my maximum probably maximum braking force. And then we sort of ease off as I'm easing off as I just start to turn into the corner, and then there's a little bump here. So this sort of stuff is really quite interesting if you want to really delve into it. The only problem is what I really need is a load of posh data sets off somebody really fast to see where I could improve, or I need to know exactly what I'm looking for in the data. But this will come from learning. I do actually have some faster laps from Cadwell, so I can look through them another day when I actually don't want to stop and have a beer. So yeah, even after your track day you can go full geek into why you were really, really slow on the day. Today's excuse is going to be the cold, and the fact it was the first day out. But even though I can look at this and tell myself I'm slow, I still thoroughly enjoyed my day out. Hanging around with mates, riding motorbikes fast. There's not many things that are better than that, really. So on that note, I'm going to say goodnight. Thank you for watching, and join me again next time for some more motorbike fun.